Doctor, are you there?
I am.
And we have to read. But
Hello,
most of all,
everyone.
we have our special guest. Hello, everybody. Let's talk about it. Let's keep in mind it's all about life conversations. It's all about the things that's going on in our world and in your world. We also have our special guest who I am so delighted to have this afternoon. I can't even tell you how excited I am to have her. So we'd love for you to share this link right now with someone, and we want you to join in the comments because remember, this month we're talking a lot about our young people, what's going on with our young people. Today we have Erica Boykin Jackson. She's here in the
Woo!
house. We're
Yay!
excited. Man, I am too excited. And so I'm just saying, please share this. One of the things that we're excited about is to be able to bring people on like Erica. Last week we had Mark Fumby talking about violence and talking about those things that's affecting our young people. Why would we have something and not bring on an educator, but not just an educator, a young educator? Okay, we're
Exactly.
excited. Yes, Erica. Jerry, before I get on, I want to share with you that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We will definitely be talking about that and sharing about it. We want to acknowledge that today. That is, and we'll definitely be acknowledging each Sunday breast cancer awareness. And so, as it relates to breast cancer, men and women breast test. Okay,
Right.
do your monthly check. So, just before I get started with Erica, I just want to talk a little bit about this young lady. When I say this young lady, she is definitely a jewel. All the things that I can think about. I know her very well, just quickly, and I don't want to take a lot of time, but I know her because she came up in the youth group. She was one of our youth leaders in our youth group. Not only was she a youth leader, but she, before she became a youth leader, one of the young people that was in our youth ministry. I know her through her parents. As a part of our church, I served in ministry with her father, Elder Boykin, and her mother, now Elder Felita Boykin. And so I just want you to know that this young lady has been greatly a part of my life for a long time. And she'll talk a little bit about herself, but this young lady went on from high school and on to college, Fort Valley State College. Not only does she have one degree, 2 degrees, but she have 3 degrees. She have two master's degrees. All right. Can you say that? But I'm just
Woo!
interested in finding out
Yes.
what her love. I knew she wanted to go to med school, but now her love and passion for young people. How did that spring forth? Not only Erica, is a wife. She's married to Devin Jackson, who stole her heart, and
How,
they've been
so
married
when did you
5
guys
years.
meet, Erica? How did you guys meet? You and Devin.
We actually met at Fort Valley State. He played keys for the gospel choir, which I participated in while I was there.
Gospel choir. Hear that?
Wow.
So that's how she met the love of her life. And it was at such a great time she lost her father. Not long after that, after she, her husband got married. And so, and just, it was beautiful. You married him after or before Elder Boy? Just right after. That's
It
right.
was 2 years
Yeah,
after.
that's right. 2 years after. So, but look at what God has done. So, with any, I'm not going any further than that, but I just want to make sure I covered everything as it relates to what I can remember. But coming up in the youth group, she was definitely a leader, and she really, really served. And I've known her through her trying times, her best times, bad times, but great times. great times is going off to college, and I just remember all of that. So, Erica, welcome. So glad to have you. We're gonna dive right in so that we
Tell
can
us
get to
about
the meat
yourself.
why you came on.
Tell
Go.
us about yourself, Erica. Mom did. She was telling you a lot, but we want to hear you.
Right.
I done told your whole story, right?
You tell us about yourself.
Basically, yes.
Okay. Well, currently I'm 32 years old. I do have three degrees. I finished up my last master's in teaching for secondary education. That's grade 6 through 12. In science. So any of the sciences, human anatomy, chemistry, physics, I would be certified to teach it.
Wow.
Um, this is my seventh year teaching.
Oh
Second,
wow.
Wow.
third year. No, this is my third year in high school. I started in middle school. And let me preface that by saying that I never wanted to be a teacher and it was not on my list of things to do, but we'll get into that later.
I
All of
don't
these
remember
ladies
that.
know that since I was young, probably 10, I was going to be a
Cardiologist.
cardiologist. I
Yep,
was
a
going to go to
doctor.
Duke. I was going to be in the medical field. But
Right,
Yep.
And
exactly.
getting out of after graduating college, I needed something to do. So substitute teaching was my side hustle to make money. It was just to
Mm,
make money after school. I mean, not after school, after
right.
college and things like that.
Wow.
I got into it real heavy. Like I was subbing maybe 5 days a week, and then long term subbing for teachers out on maternity leave and things like that. And realized that
wow.
I was actually pretty decent.
Wow.
And the way I got into teaching was through my husband because he was already a long term sub at a high school in another county. And the middle school where he was employed at, the teacher was looking for a science teacher because the current science teacher up and quit in the middle of the year.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Crazy.
Up and quit in the middle
Wow.
of the year. I started in November and I was only supposed to be a long term sub and I ended up being with those students till the end of the school year.
Wow.
wow.
So that started
Mm,
my teaching journey.
wow.
That's a
Isn't
blessing.
that something?
How
That's
how
awesome.
have you adjusted, or how have you guys adjusted as educators post COVID? You know, COVID was a whole undertaking all by itself. So it
Mm-hmm.
would be interesting to understand COVID experience, but now post COVID, which is still just as crazy, you know, of an undertaking because trying to get everybody just back to normal. Although they've been back to normal for what, over a year now, but not really. So speak to that a little bit.
I can honestly say it was a hard transition for everybody, educators and students together, because you go from having a full classroom to having a completely empty classroom. There's nobody there but you and your computer, and knowing the background of your students and knowing the background of education as well, it made our job harder, if not the
Hmm.
hardest thing I probably had to do in my life. Because students don't comprehend as much as they do at home than they do
Mm-hmm.
in school.
Person.
And we
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of failing grades, failing assignments, students not showing up and things like that. But the disconnect was that it would always some kind of way be our fault. Like we can't make you log in. We can't make you show up. We can only do what we're in control of. And
Right.
that was the disconnect between the school and the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Wow.
It's still disconnect between the school and the parents.
Because it's
Wow.
all a bridge. We're all intertwined. So you have your administration, and your administration speaks for your teacher speaks for the students, and the parent speaks for their students as well. But we're supposed to work together. But most of the parents now are so combative. They don't want you to tell their children nothing.
Right.
They're backwards minded, meaning they don't set the teacher up to be successful. So if you know that the first week of school we send the paperwork home where you're supposed to update your address, your phone numbers, all you got to
Right.
do is fill it out, send it back with the child. But for me as a science teacher, if an emergency has taken place in my classroom, say Susie got burned with some chemicals, or Susie passed out unexpectedly, you will want us to be able to pick up the phone and call you, but we can't because you haven't done your job first. And now
Ooh.
you're upset at us because why
Mm,
didn't nobody call me and something happened to my child and I should have came up here because you didn't update the paperwork the first week of school.
Something so
Right.
simple.
right. But
Something
this is
so
the
simple.
craziest thing. Yeah. I've heard parents, heard young people say, or at least I heard another educator say from another school district, school system, that, the children tell them, oh, my parents got you on block. They got the school on block. Why would the parents put the school
Mm.
on?
I've never
They're
heard
I,
that.
crafty.
the
Never heard of
They're
school
that.
is
crafty
on
these
block.
days.
Why? Okay,
Wow.
so this is the thing. Parents put the school on block because you got these children, a lot of children are going into
Mm-mm-mm.
ISS, and that's the thing that's really alarming now. They don't want to conform, yeah, in school. And so now teachers are having the struggle is that, to put them in ISS, you only can keep them there for so long. But, if parents, if students, it needs to go home because they're that outraged, you can't reach them. So you got to sit there with the student who's already, keeping up a lot of ruckus because they get in touch with them. That got to be hard for teachers. It's got to be really hard.
Erica, what would you
So,
say is the biggest challenge you're facing in the field, as an educator?
Um, Staying relevant.
Speak to that.
And I say that because you
yes.
have a lot of young teachers, and these young teachers have opinions, they have emotions, they have degrees, and they are not going to be played with by children who can't afford to teach themselves. Because on the flip side, these children have been raised to advocate for themselves. They're going back and forth with the adults and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I try to give my students a platform to where they can speak their thoughts, speak their minds, speak their opinions in a manner where they can be heard respectfully. That's the part
Right.
that
Okay.
they miss. They miss the respectful portion. And they coming at you with their hands all up. They want to be loud. They cursing. They don't care. They have no sense of authority anymore.
Mm.
But being in education, you have to put your foot down and respect yourself first. And in turn, it allows the children to respect you too, because they know I have my boundaries. I can be as sweet and as gentle as you want me to be. And baby, we can take it back to the streets because a, a part a part of me that was once that I don't tap into that often. She ain't went away, but you have to know
Right.
that they can't. They have to know that
You
they
can't.
can't play with you like that.
Right. Right. And they can't push you
Um,
over.
And that
They
right,
can.
they'll love you forever. The biggest thing that the children are looking for in my 7 years of teaching is real simple. They're looking for consistency. They're looking for somebody who cares, and they're looking for somebody to treat them like a human being and
Right.
not what people have
mm,
labeled them to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Asking
consistency,
questions,
someone who
consistency.
cares.
They want somebody to show up for them every day. Because as
Right.
many students, no matter if you're a good teacher, terrible teacher, whatever, the children saying they don't teach for real, it doesn't matter. If you're there every day, those children will remember that.
Yeah.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember I missed one day and Miss Jackson, where was you at? You didn't tell us you was gonna be out, and this and this happened while you was gone, and it's crazy. They just want somebody to be present. They want them to talk to them in calm tones. Hey, how you doing today? Like we don't know the situations they had the day before, and yeah, Johnny got his pants hanging down a little bit, but I'm not gonna fuss at him first thing in the morning. Hey, Johnny, how you doing? How you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling all right. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Right.
can you pull those pants up for me? Okay, cool. Johnny gonna pull his pants up, and I'm gonna send him on his way. Have a great day. See you later. Things like that. Talk to the children on the level that
So
they
you
can understand, and you can
you
get them
so
to
you
do
say
anything you want them to do.
consistency.
Yeah,
Right,
consistency.
consistency. Um, you say someone who cares. They want someone to be present and talk to them in a calm tone. Do you think that these are the same things that children want from parents?
Mm.
Most definitely.
Mm.
And
And that thing,
they gravitate to those teachers who are giving them that energy.
I agree.
ah,
We received
okay,
a
that's good.
question from one of our audience members online. He said, "What is the school system doing to get kids caught back up that are behind?" Great question.
That is a great question. Most of them are putting them in online classes, which I don't think is the most acceptable way to catch those children up. But in a 50-minute class period, we also don't have time to keep reteaching and catching those kids up because we're stifling those kids who are ready to move on
Right.
and things like that. And there's not enough time for us to cover the old and the new simultaneously, if that makes sense. My largest class
Mhm.
has 30 students in it and it's standing room only.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I don't have the capacity. That's what it is. I don't have the capacity to teach those 10 students who are struggling, who are behind, and still accelerate or give those other 20 students an authentic education because these students are behind.
I
Oh
think the
wow.
hardest part it goes beyond just the school system helping, although the school system can be a big part because they do have a lot of resources and things available. Tend to, I don't know, all school systems are not created equal. We all know that. But I think it would be really good, for parents to have to get involved, to your point, or whoever that caretaker is, if it's a grandparent or whoever that is in a
Right.
child's life. They have to be the ones
Mhm.
to kind of advocate for that student and get them the help that they need, get the tutoring that they need. That little extra help will go a long way to kind of help some of these kids get from being behind. Unfortunately, some are going to just continue to be behind, and that's the challenge that COVID presented itself, or brought to all of us, with our children. But I think it's a great question, Dwight, in terms of what are they doing. A lot of the schools probably are doing exactly what Erica just said. They're doing what they have to do to keep them moving forward, not necessarily can't go behind. Some that they can help keep pulling them forward, but I think it's really, how is the parent involved in it, in getting their child brought back up to speed.
That's one of the other questions to you, Erica, as an educator. Um, and really, really is that what are you seeing? Um, is brawls breaking out in school, a lot of violence are taking place, a lot of gang activity that's going on. Um, what are you seeing and how disturbing this is because it is interrupting education, it's interrupting the teachers from being able to effectively, get the students, quiet down. We're seeing a lot of children are going into ISS. So, how do you speak to that? And I don't know whether or not you may be experiencing that where the area that you're in, but certainly in our local area in all of the nation. I said last week that kids are doing the same thing. There. How do you speak to what's going on and what parents can do? What we can as those that are in the prevention field and in parenting? What can we do? What do you how do you speak to that? I know that's a lot, but what are you seeing? Is it anything like that going on in your school with all of these kinds of things that's going on in the metropolitan areas?
Not so much in my school, but I have seen it. But the root of the matter is the children are angry. They have
Anger.
emotions, and nobody is asking them how they feel. Nobody's teaching them how to navigate through those emotions in a positive manner, and nobody's giving them alternatives to lashing out and things like that. All they want to do is be heard. Like they'll come to me, Miss Jackson, my girlfriend doing this, A, B, and C. How do I approach this? The principal said something that I didn't like and things like that. Well, you have to get to the root cause of why these students
Mhm.
feel the way that they do because they have thoughts and opinions, and you have to teach them or give them the
Right.
tools to be able to navigate themselves through those issues.
Mhm.
Like saying things such like your feelings are valid.
Their feelings are
And
valid.
they're like,
Mhm.
my feelings are valid. Yes, you're a student and you're still a human being at the end of the day. If I say that I'm cold, I expect to be heard and somebody to bring me a jacket or bring me a blanket, something like that. Miss
Right.
Jackson, I'm bleeding. Okay, let me get you a band-aid. We're gonna run some water under it. They don't think that they're being heard or people are listening to them. Even if
So
it
you
means that
think
you
a lot
don't
of it is
offer a
that?
response, hear what they're
Mhm.
Yeah,
saying.
Mhm.
yeah.
Think about
So
it,
you think a
Erica.
lot of it is that kids are angry. Okay.
I was going to say, think about it. It comes back to a lot of the way that a lot of us were raised early on. It was almost like the children didn't have an opinion. It was like it's my
Right.
way or the highway as a parent. You do what I
Right.
say.
Right.
It was like it's a very, very, kind of dictatorship kind of
Hmm.
teach. Whereas this current age is
Yeah.
more of you now have to pause and stop because the kids are like, look, either you're going to listen to me or I'm going to act out,
Right.
and you're getting a lot of them acting out for all kind of reasons. We know a lot of what's going on, but
Right.
it's there's more of you're forced now more than ever to really pause and listen to the heartbeat of the child, and
I
what
think
what are they thinking? What
I
is
think
going on?
that
Go ahead,
yeah.
Mama.
It
Right.
is different, Shawana, and I agree with that. Again, I think that a lot of what we're seeing is a lot of, and this goes to a parenting altogether, is how children are being raised in this hour. That must be a line of respect of parents, being their children's friends. Is one thing, but the child need to know there's a difference between me being your friend and I'm being the parent and you're the child. And that has to be a level of respect. And what we're having now is that, parents don't respect the children don't respect the parents. And so, therefore, the young people do not have any respect for authority because they weren't taught to respect authority. I think the goal of parents have always been for the old school parents was that we want you to be accountable, we want you to be dependable, and we want you to be responsible for your actions. And so, with that, there's going to be a level of resistance, and we know that. But I think that what we're looking at now is a whole a different generation of child rearing, and so therefore, the respect for authority is no longer. And then our children are faced with TikTok and all of these other things, which
Mhm.
even cartoons that make children, I mean, rebellious cartoons. These cartoons
Oh
coming
yeah,
on with
what's
Right.
that little pig head, little
all
baby?
out
This a pig
and
Oh.
head part. What
being
is
ugly to the parent, all kinds of stuff. So, and parents put these
so
things,
bad,
they
too,
give them the
y'all?
little iPad, the children looking at this stuff, and she's like, I can do that too, So we got these kinds of things going on, but to get back is how they're being raised. Yeah,
We have a lot, two questions that came, and then Erica, we have just a few more that we want to get you to speak to.
yeah.
One question came: is there space to have an element of friendship and authority with your child?
Mm,
Oh, most definitely, especially if you are clear in your boundaries.
mm-hmm.
You have to say what you will and will not tolerate, and you have to create a safe space for them to come be themselves. And I think
Yes.
that's what I prided myself in most being an educator because, like, my classroom, I call it the house because where are you most comfortable? You're most comfortable at the house. You walk
Right.
around with your shoes off, you're going to be your authentic self. You don't care who's looking. And in my classroom, I've created that atmosphere for my students. We don't care about wrong answers. Wrong answers are another opportunity to learn differently.
Right.
That's great.
Mm,
It's
I
not a
love
matter
that.
of being right. It's a matter of, do you understand? Because if you were just here to be right, there would be no reason for me to be getting
That's
paid.
right. I
Wow,
totally
that's
agree.
right.
And
That's good.
you have to teach them that. You have to make those children comfortable so they can be their authentic selves, so you can actually teach them what they need to be taught to be successful. And it goes back to your house relationship too. As a parent, make your children comfortable. That way they can come to you, because they use their educators as their go-to people because they're not being heard at home. They have
Mm.
situations that they're in and they're like, well, I can't go tell my mom because she's going to react like this and things like
Yes.
that. And we hurt for them, but they need somebody that they can come talk to.
They need
Right.
someone they can trust. They need someone, and that's just like, that village, creating that village. But I want to speak to something you just said, creating that environment. I love to quote Socrates that, you can't teach anyone anything. You just create the
I
environment
mean,
and allow
hmm
them to discover the truth for themselves. And it is all about creating an environment, a safe space. Young people need someone that they can trust. And I think parents, that should be their first phase. Can I trust my parent to tell them,
Hmm.
to share with them? And then, such as educators like yourself, creating that safe space in the classroom. And teachers are so busy, I feel for them, trying to put out a lot of fires. And so by the time they get to instruction, you only have a few minutes, because they've had to stop this and stop that and do this. But I think it kind of starts early on in your classroom, you
We
know.
have a couple of comments now and another
Wonderful,
question. One
wonderful.
of the comments says, "Is we have a lot of young parents who have not lived their lives yet, so the
That's right.
children are secondary in a lot of situations." Another comment said that Erica, that you gave a great perspective. Kids need to feel seen and heard. But one more question that came from the chat is, how can parents stop seeing their child acting out as disrespectful and actually see their hurt? How can they teach emotional regulation? That's a good.
Emotion. That is a good question. Emotional regulation, or we call it de-escalation training, is just giving the child time and space to accept that something has happened to them, and then be able to verbalize or dialogue themselves back to a calm space. So, for example, I had a student that got put out of art class the other day, and he's big mad. Just, the lady always putting me out. She always got an attitude every time I come in here. But the Spanish teacher was walking by him in the hallway, and the student started lashing out at him. And I was walking by and said, wait a minute, wait a minute. He didn't do it. He's not the problem. So what's going to happen? So I told him, hey, listen, take you a minute. Walk down to the hallway, walk down to the end of the hallway, count to 10, and come back so we can have a civilized conversation. And he took his time. He walked to the double doors. He came on back, and we all three of us had a hallway conversation about his feelings. He's upset. He got put out. The teacher wasn't listening to him as to what he was trying to say so he could be successful for the day. And he got fed up, and rightfully so, because your feelings are valid. If I wasn't being heard either, I would be mad.
Right.
So
I love that.
you have to put them in situations where they are able to sit in their feelings, pivot, and adapt,
hmm
because there are always consequences for our actions, whether they're positive or negative. But we
Right.
have to be able to get ourselves to a place where we can receive what we need to be successful, and not just feed into the ability to want to lash out and make others feel bad because we feel bad. That's not what
Exactly.
we're
I
here for.
love this educator that's doing this. Look at what you are doing. That's what I'm saying. Rather than you jumping in with the student and you going back and forth, I love how you helped him to de escalate, pivot, and then, adapt, come back, let's have a conversation. I love, and I know that's kind of hard for a lot of people, but you've shared something that's really, really, really key and no doubt helpful for educators to be able to see it from that perspective. Don't, not come in ready to charge, but think about it. They have feelings too. And I
But it
think that
also
sometimes,
speaks to the growth of the educator as well. You have to
okay,
be an
speak
adult
to that.
individual yourself. Because for me, I'm not finna go back and forth with people who can't afford to teach themselves. That's just me.
Wow.
I'm not.
Wow. Wow.
I'm not gonna
Oh my
do it
goodness.
because I
But
went through
what
too
I
much. I
but
went
what
through
I
too
love
much
about what
school and too much preparation. Like it's no.
Yeah, but what I love what you did though is, as you said, you allowed them to sit there in their feelings for a moment. You gave them time to breathe. Then you didn't go in the ditch with them. You actually pulled them out of the ditch, and you just said, let's talk through this thing, and then let's pivot and figure out how can we work through this now.
And
And
That's
that's
right.
all
and
they
that is
need.
I love that.
exactly,
That's the
and
cheat
that is
code.
so powerful. So I have, and I love that. But that works where you are in school. That works on your job. That
Everywhere.
works in your homes. I mean, that is like a principle that can float wherever you
Very
are
key.
whenever you're in a difficult situation or someone else is. So we have a couple of we have a couple of other questions, but one is, because I know we're past time now. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I'm trying to think what I was doing at 18.
You're about to head off to college. That's what you were doing.
Yeah.
If I could tell my 18-year-old self something, I would let myself know that you do not have it together. And there is always something for you to learn, no matter
Mm,
who it comes from. And that's really what I live on. I learn from the children on a regular basis. On a regular basis. I always pride myself in learning something new, no matter if it's somebody older teaching me, the younger generation teaching me, because I am a firm believer that the children will tell you everything that you need to know, whether you ask them or not.
do you
That's good.
find that some of the things that the older generation told you years ago, uh, that you're finding that to be true? That, wow, I've heard this before, and some of those things you're passing along to your young people. Do you find that?
I am. It was funny because I told one of my students the other day, an empty wagon make a lot of noise,
Ooh.
and I busted out laughing because
They're
I was
not
like, we
so
we used to
regular.
hear this stuff all of the time, and we never knew what it meant, but
Now you know.
you have now I know, like you have this student that's got your classroom turned upside down, but little do we know Johnny can't read on grade level. That's the problem.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So now I got
yeah.
to sit with Johnny so we can get this work done, so Johnny can have something to look forward to that's positive in his life. Because all he expecting is to get put out every day because no one wants to deal
Wow.
with him. No, we're finna get to the root of this behavior and we're gonna turn it around so you can be successful. Because when they come to me, they're gonna be like, Miss Jackson, what you did with Johnny so he sat down in your class.
Wow. So
One
good.
last question. One last question, and we're gonna wrap it up. If you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about?
Creating change,
Mhm.
and that's it. No matter where you are, how long you're there for, be the impact, create change, teach
Mhm.
new lessons,
Mhm.
live freely, unapologetically. Be your true authentic self 100% because people can respect you more for being real than for them to fall in love with a persona of you,
Mm.
Mm.
if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
It does.
Because one thing about me, you gonna catch me being me 100% of the time at 12 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock. Like I'm
Always
gonna
Right.
be
have been
consistent. I'm gonna be consistent. I'm
consistent.
gonna do what I say because I say what I mean, and I've always been like that.
Yeah. So you
That's
mean
good.
it's what you're saying is to be a change agent because that's who we are, is to create change. Have you heard this before? In life, there are no excuses, only choices. You
Have you
make the
used that,
choice.
Erica?
I
Have you
have
used?
I have used that one. I have used if it is to be, it is up to me.
Right.
In teaching the children how to speak positively about themselves. I don't care if somebody said you were a failure. Do you feel like you failed?
Yeah,
If you haven't feel like you failed, then you're not a failure. I
Yep.
am bold. I am brilliant. I am intelligent. I am strong. I can do this. I can
right.
finish this. I can conquer this. You have to change the way you speak so your actions can
Speak.
follow
Hmm.
how you're speaking.
Right.
Absolutely, and change who you find yourselves around. If they're speaking negativity, change the what you're reading if it's negative, or even the videos and stuff that you're watching if they're not feeding you
Right.
positivity. So I'm with you 100% on that.
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
who
we have
have been the most,
now.
maybe three most
Oh
influential
yeah.
people in your life?
Mm.
I have a lot of people that have influenced me in life. I know I ain't gonna be able to narrow it down to three.
Well, that's a good thing because you had people that impacted your life, and that's a good
Hmm.
thing. So if it's
A
more than
support
three,
system.
then you can.
Hmm.
So that's a great, and I love that because that to me is most impactful. That have village of people that impacted your life. Somebody spoke this, somebody spoke that, and somebody encouraged you. So that's awesome. So you don't have to narrow it down to three. And I know you can't narrow it down to three because it's too many. Right. And so the last thing that I would like to ask is that um, if you could heard one thing, what would that be in terms of have really impacted your life to this day?
Can you repeat the question?
You broke up a little bit, Mom. Say it one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you if you could be remembered for one thing, oh, listen, what is the
Mm.
one piece of I think that if you could be remembered for one thing, what would one thing be?
Yeah. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that one thing be?
That I made an impact by any means necessary. Like I want to be remembered for the things that I've done, the change that I've created, the advocacies that I've put forth, things like that. Like I'm not looking for the money. I'm not looking for the accolades. Who did I change and who did I make better along my journey?
Right.
Wow,
And that's
that
payment
is
enough
so
for me.
powerful.
Impact. Hmm.
So good. I just feel like I should be doing a
Wow.
snap on you.
No, we need to do a ring a bell on that.
Right.
she gets she gets a
So
bell
good.
on that. My
Mhm.
goodness, Erica. That's one thing. It's something that you share, and the most impactful thing that you share from an educator. I think that we help some educators some of the things that they do and the way they do it, how they are impacting, how you really change something. That's so. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, Terry,
Thank
you
you
have
all
any
for
other
having me.
comments?
No, I do not.
Yes, you must come back for sure. You must come back
Yes,
for
we're
sure.
good.
This has
Definitely.
been Alice, and we've had you heard it from Eric Birkin Jackson, who is an educator, just sharing perspective on our young people and we are with today. I thank you so much, Erica. And as we always say, this is Let's Talk About It with Alice with love,
Peace
peace
and
And
to
increase.
increase.
all
And
of
increase.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. We will be back next week. We will have Andre Maria next week. So we're excited about that. Thank you, Erica. Again, please come back and join with us on Let's Talk About It with us. All right.
Awesome.